Hi, good afternoon to my two lecturers, who is Dr. Kamili and Bon Azlina, and my friends. So for today, I'm going to present the plugin project, which is the subject of SCES 1152, Computational Thinking in Science. So before I start the presentation, let me introduce myself first. So my name is Chung Jie Xuan, and my course is Science, and then my current year is PP, which is Persediaan, and then for the semester is semester 3. And now I'm studying in IPG-KTP, which is Institute Pendidikan Guru, Malaysia, Kampus Pulau Pinang. So next, let me introduce the topic that I focus in the project. So the project focus on rusting, which is the part of the Year 5 science syllabus under the theme of material. And then let me introduce about what is rusting. So rusting is a natural chemical process that will affect the ion object. For example, will affect the characteristic and so on. But there's a lot of ways to prevent rusting. So to learn more, later I will explain in the game that I created. So next one, this one I shows the SKP of the topic that I focus in this project. So the topic that I focus is rusting material. So you can see it here. And then over here we can see there's a lot of learning standard, but in the project that I created, I just focus on these four. 7.1.1 state the characteristic of rustic object, and then 7.1.2 make generalization that objects made from iron can rust, and then the third one, 7.1.3 carried out experiment to determine the factor that cause rusting, and then the last one describe the way to prevent rusting. Okay. Then the objective of the project. So there's two objectives of the project. So for the first one is to help year 5 students to understand the concept of rusting, identify rusty object, recognize the causes of rusting, and also learn how to prevent rusting. So for the second objective is to enhance students' scientific understanding through the interactive games and activities that focus on real-life application of rusting process. So the next one, okay, how do I develop the project? So it's for the to develop the project, it's require 5 steps for me. So for the first step, I create the storyboard planning. For example, I map up the flow, intro, subtopic, games, and also the quiz, and then asset creation. So during the step 2, I create a sprite and costume, which is the background of the game to represent the object, tools, and the environmental elements. So for the step 3, I designed the script. So over here, I developed the dialogue and instructions for the teacher sprite and the player interactions. For the fourth step, I programming, which is the difficult part for me. So over here, I utilize the scratch block like when click, focus, wait, change costume, or else, and hide or show to control the timing, animations, and also the logic. So for the last one, to develop the project is user experience. So over here, I added engagement element like animation. For example, I used the effect of breathing on the title and also the start button. And besides that, I also use sound effect. For example, when the water is pouring and also the oil is pouring, I use the sound effect of pouring. And simple language for an interactive experience. So over here, this one is the link of my project. So let's click in and let's us see what is in the project. Okay, let's us put this full screen. So okay, over here we can press start. When we play this game, remember to open the sounds because I put a lot of sound effect in this game. So let's press start. Over here, I have classified into five subtopic. One is characteristic, and then what is rusty object, factors, ways to prevent, and also the last one, risks. So let's press the first one, characteristic. So this one is the DSKP that I shows just now. So for the 7.1.1 is state the characteristic of rusty object, and then the performance level is 1 and 2. So when you're ready, press next.
Hi there! Can you spot which things are rusty? Look for objects with a reddish-brown layer. There are 3 objects are rusty. Look for objects with a reddish-brown layer. Once you find them all, I will tell you more. Enjoy!
So like just now I mentioned, so you need to find which one object is rusty. So let's press. There are 3 objects. So press. Okay, this one knife is rusty. Nail also rusty. Okay, and also scissors also rusty.
Hi, it's me again. The most defining feature of a rusty object is the presence of a reddish-brown layer that forms over time. Besides that, rust can also create a rough texture on the surface of the object. Lastly, a rusty object will typically become brittle, means it can break easily compared to its original state. Let's press next to learn the next subtopic.
So like just now already mentioned that the characteristic of rusty object include 3. So for the first one, reddish brown layer. So the surface of the iron will become reddish brown. And then for the second one is rough surface. The surface will be very rough. And then the third one is brittle texture. So it may hurt you if you touch them. So let's press next. So for the second subtopic is for the second learning outcome is the generalization that objects that made from iron can rust. So the performance levels is 3. So let's press next.
Character 1, Amy. She's a curious student who recently discovered some rusty object and is now curious to find out why some things rust. Character 2, Teacher Stu. Teacher Stu is a knowledgeable teacher who recently teaching metal are rusting. She's excited to help students explore the concept of rusting. Hi, Teacher Stu. Recently, I found some objects that look rusty. I wonder what kind of object tend to rust? That's a great question, Emmy. Before we get started, here's a simple rule. Most things made of iron tend to rust. Are you ready to find out which object rusts?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, over here we have 3 objects that will rust and 4 objects that will not rust. Let's take a look at these objects and tell me which one you think will rust.
So over here we have 3 objects will be rust. So let's find out which one will be rust. So spanner.
Spanner is made of iron or steel, so it will become rust.
Over here, maybe you don't know which one will be rust, so maybe you press aluminum can.
The can is made of aluminium, which form a protective layer to prevent rust.
So when you press the wrong answer, the teacher still will explain why this one does not rust. So for the second one, nail.
Nail is usually made of iron, so it will rust.
Okay, for the last one, screw.
Screw typically made of iron, so it will rust. Well done! Now you know that things that made of iron or steel will rust. But things that made of plastic, stainless steel, and bronze doesn't rust at all. Let's press next to learn the next subtopic.
We already learned about that iron and steel or steel will be rust and the other material doesn't rust. So press next. So over here, 7.1.3 is carry out experiment to determine the factors that cause rusting. So the performance levels is 4. So let's press next.
Hi there, your scientists. Welcome to Rust Booster Lab. Today, we're going to find out what causes iron to rust. Rusting happens when iron reacts with air and water. But which one is really needed? Let's find out. For the experiment, I've prepared 2 test tubes with iron nail. Besides that, I have also prepared water and oil. Now, let's set up our experiment using 2 test tubes. Step 1. Add water into test tube 1 and 2.
So for step 1, add water into test tube 1 and 2. So let us add water.
Step 2. Add oil into test tube 2. In
then,
addition, oil is added into the test tube to prevent air from entering the water.
and then add oil into test tube 2 to prevent air entering
Step
into
3.
the test tube.
Step 3. Press next to observe the results after 3 months.
Next.
2,000 years later.
First, let's take a look at test tube 1. As you can see, the iron nails in test tube 1 was rusted. It is because the iron nails contact with water and air. For test tube 2, the iron nails doesn't rust. It is because the oil prevents the air from entering the water. So the iron nails only contact with water. After the experiment, what is our conclusion? In conclusion, water and air is the factors that cause rust. Let's press next to learn the last subtopic.
So after the experiment here, we can see that the test tube 1 and test tube 2, the difference of the nails. So for test tube 1, the nails already rust, and then for the test tube 2, the nails still remain the same because the oil on the top of the water blocked the air from entering the water in the test tube. So let's press next, proceed the last subtopic. So for the last subtopic is 7.1.4, which is describe ways to prevent rusting. This is for this subtopic is its performance level is 5. So let's press next.
Hi everyone! For last subtopic, we will learn about ways to prevent rust. For the first way to prevent rust is by applying oil or grease. People often apply oil on bicycle chain or machine part to stop them from rusting. Second way, painting on the surface. Paint creates a barrier between the metal and the air or water, prevent rust. The third way to prevent rust is coating with a rust-proof material. The metal is coated with a layer of plastic or other non-rusting material to protect it. For the last way is plating with a rust-proof metal. This method will cover iron with a thin layer of other metal that does not rust. Let's press next to start the game.
So just now had explained about the common way to prevent rust. So for the first one, applying oil or grease. The second one, painting to the surface. The third one is coating with a rust-proof material, and for the last one, plating with a rust-proof metal. So please remember all of this ways because later we have a game about the ways to prevent rust. So press next.
Let's help protect the iron object in the game. Choose the correct method from the right to keep them rust-free. Round 1. Iron nail. Drag the correct answer from the right to the iron object.
So for now, we need to protect the iron object from rusting. So here's the ways that I just now mentioned: applying oil or grease, painting the surface, painting with a rust-proof metal, and also coating with a rust-proof material. So for nails, what we can do to prevent it from rusting? So definitely plating with a rust-proof metal, right? So let's put
Round 2. Bicycle chain.
the bicycle change definitely is applying oil or grease, right? But if we put the wrong answer on the iron object, what will so let's try try painting the surface. It will sound wrong, right? So let's put the correct answer, applying oil or grease.
Round 3. Hanger.
The hanger, as you can see the hanger up here, the hanger is coated with the rust-proof material, which is rubber. So definitely coating with a rust-proof material.
Round 4. Iron gate.
And then for the iron gate, we saw usually at outside, usually it's coated paint with paint. So definitely painting the surface.
In conclusion, rust can be prevented by keeping metal away from air and water. Methods like painting, applying oil, covering objects, and storing them in dry place help protect iron and make it last longer. Let's press next to try out the quiz.
So let's press next to try the quiz. So just a simple quiz, just take it easy. So for the first one, what causes rusting? So this is about the factors that cause rusting. So just now you remember the experiment, right? The test tube 1 is already rust, and then for the test tube 2 doesn't rust. So it's because of water and air. And then for the second question, what does a rusty object look like? This one is the subtopic 1, the characteristic of the rusty object. So the rusty object definitely will look reddish brown and brown. So for the third question, which of the following objects can rust? So this one is the third subtopic, which is make a generalization about iron or steel will be rust. So this one is plastic, this one is wooden, and then this one is iron. Definitely C. So for the fourth question, what is the way to prevent rusting? So this one is the last subtopic that I just now explained. So definitely C, apply oil or grease. For the fifth question, why it is important to prevent rusting? So definitely it's not to make metal soft and also not to make it look sturdy. It's not our objective. Like our objective to prevent rusting is to protect the metal and makes it last longer. So for the last question, what type of material does not rust? So the type of material does not rust, definitely not iron and steel, must be plastic.
End
So
of the
end of the
class.
class.
Thank you.
So back to our presentation, our slide here. So over here, the city skills that apply in this project is for the first one is decomposition, because for the project I'm breaking the topic into smaller subtopics like causes, characteristics, and also ways to prevent rusting. And then for the second CT skill that I apply in this project is pattern recognition, which I identify the characteristic of rusty versus with the non-rusty object. And then for the third CT skill that I apply is abstraction, because I simplify the complex concept like rusting into easy understand animations. And then for the last CT skill that I apply, which is algorithm thinking, I design the sequence in spread, such as if player click, shows message, and then go to the scene, so on. Okay, for the next one. The benefit in the school context for this project, it will help students to enhance sense understanding. It will help students visualize writing, which can be difficult to observe in real life because writing require a long period to see the changes. So for the second one, encourage active learning. The student engage with interacting, clicking, choosing, and thinking instead of just reading. So for the third one, which is the last one, build 21st century skill. So it promotes digital literacy, logical thinking, and creativity. So that's all for my presentation today. Thank you.